who doesn't like a good puzzle? Or cake, who doesn't like cake? The guys that gave us Team Fortress 2 and Half-Life like both of those things. So they decided to make a game that would appeal to the masses. Well, at least their funding did. You see, the concept of Portal was first explored in a game called Narbacular Drop. The indie game was developed by a small studio named Nuclear Monkey. From my understanding, this team submitted Narbacular Drop to a games fair back in the early 2000s. Representatives from Valve were at that event, and they took an interest in the game. From there, Gabe just cut a check to bring the guys at Nuclear Monkey on, and told them to make a game using the Portal mechanics seen in the first title. Added bonus, let's have it take place in the Half-Life universe. October 10th, 2007 would see the release of the first Portal, and I've been enjoying visiting Aperture Science ever since. Portal is a game that I think everyone can enjoy, and I can't wait to discuss it. Let's start with the story.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer-Aided Enrichment Center. We hope your brief detention in the relaxation vault has been a pleasant one.
The story of Portal is pretty easy to sum up. You play as Shell, a silent protagonist. She wakes up in the Aperture Science labs with a disembodied robotic voice telling her she needs to test. And that's exactly what you'll be doing for the 3-hour runtime. You'll be testing your problem-solving skills, while our robotic mommy GLaDOS praises or demeans us.
Oh my god.
Players will only be given the information they need to know for the core narrative. Additional information about this world can be found throughout the Aperture Science facility. For example, it becomes obvious that this world is set in the Half-Life universe when you start seeing Black Mesa posters. What can be said about that core narrative, though? Is it really as simple as AI terrorizes poor woman? Well, yes and no. As I mentioned, a lot of the narrative details can be uncovered by exploring the world. Another test subject clearly inhabited some of the side rooms found throughout the facility. There is a decent amount of lore surrounding the Ratman, and his time spent at Aperture Science. This guy was terrorized into seclusion, which eventually developed into him having mental disorders. It's obvious from his wall art that you find in his burrows what his intentions were for the companion cube. The story of Portal may be sparse, but it gives the player everything they need to know more. If players want more detail, they can go look for it. That isn't the case with the gameplay, however. There is an abundance of what you need in that area. Momentum is the key word when talking about the gameplay. Of course, the players will need to use the game's signature portal gun to solve puzzles, but it's amazing how movement becomes essential during the later chambers. When this game was released, the concept of a puzzle game like this was still relatively new to people, so they had to spoon-feed the mechanics to you without having it feel monotonous. The developers do that masterfully. The first 5 chambers organically introduce the player to everything they're going to need to complete the game. You discover how the portals work, how to combat turrets that will be shooting at you, and just how fuckable that companion cube is. When first hearing about Portal, you'd be forgiven for thinking it sounds a bit vanilla. I mean, there aren't any enemies to shoot and kill. How could this be fun? Well, you may not shoot the turrets, but what you can do to them is a fate arguably worse than death. Portal isn't trying to challenge your KD. It's trying to challenge your critical thinking skills and reflexes. You get so good at timing your jumps and movements to fling yourself through these portals at needed times. By the end of the game, you feel like Einstein became a trapeze artist. I'd argue that solving a challenging puzzle in Portal is about as satisfying as going positive in any shooter. But how would I know? I haven't gone positive in a shooter since Captain Price let me know we'd get him next time. The physics and light platforming come together to make a perfect set of tools to solve the different puzzles and eventually find that cake that GLaDOS keeps talking about. We all know that's the best reward. The cake is definitely not a lie. It's not a lie.
Allegedly!
Once you finish with the main story, you will still have the advanced levels and bonus challenges to complete. Some of the common complaints I see about the first Portal are related to its length and how forgiving the game can be. Yes, the average time to complete is roughly 3 hours, and when you die, you can expect to be put basically back in the same spot you were just at. It might as well be the subtitle, Portal. It's baby's first puzzle game. And if the advanced levels or bonus challenges didn't exist, I'd agree with that. Achievement hunters and completionists have their work cut out for them with this additional content. There are challenges that expect you to complete chambers quickly with limited portals and steps. You think you track your steps after New Year's? You haven't seen shit. You have no idea how much you can obsess over steps. Plus, the advanced chambers are the most stimulating puzzles in the game. There is more challenge waiting for you. Similar to the story, you just have to go find it. I'm never going to 100% the first Portal, because I'm a cuck, so let's talk about the presentation. Graphically, Portal is very simple. The textures and environments are serviceable at best, and in the brief moments that you can see character models, I'd also describe them as serviceable. If this is true, why is Portal so recognizable? Well, that's because the aesthetic of Aperture Science is nothing short of iconic. The sterile white walls and the unique design of the items in the game create an identity synonymous with this IP. That's not just the visuals either. The sound effects are married to this title. I can't hear the Portal noise without wanting to start testing. And don't even get me started on the voices. GLaDOS and the turrets are some of the most recognizable voice performances I've ever seen. That's mainly due to the sound mixing and the voice modulation, but still. Also, that end credits song is a banger. And always remember when it feels like testing is being prioritized over your life and well-being, that we do what we must, because we can.
For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead.
Some things in this game impress me to this day. I still remember playing with the infinite portals, just so I could look at Shell from different angles. In a non-creepy way. I also love the humor. It's dry and mean-spirited in all the right ways. GLaDOS is a great villain, and a big part of that is due to her being the cattiest robot you're ever going to meet.
You've been wrong about every single thing you've ever done, including this thing. You're not smart. You're not a scientist. You're not a doctor. You're not even a full-time employee.
Portal may not be the flashiest game of all time, or the longest, but it's clever, unique, and thought-provoking. So in my opinion, it more than makes up for its shortcomings. I'd rather have a perfect 3-hour game over an alright 12-hour one. If you've never played Portal, you may have some hesitations, but let me promise you one thing. The game evolves with you. The level designers were like Michelangelo carving marble. They knew the player would adapt and learn new skills with each puzzle, so every following chamber had to add new challenge to stimulate the player's mind, while pulling from the lessons that have already been learned from previous chambers. That's exactly what they did. They made a puzzle game that feels like the perfect level of challenge because of the attention to the player's adaptability. It was hard for me to pin down why I love Portal so much, but when I had that thought, it made me feel like Frank when he understood homosexuality.
Oh my god. I get it.
That's it for me. And as always, thank you for your time. And the cake is a lie.